Most of us have probably seen our fair share of creepy content over the years from many different sources, whether that be games, movies, shows, or even YouTube videos. There's a lot of creepy and even downright disturbing videos on this website. Today, I'll be covering some unnerving videos, some of which even the more experienced of you may have never seen before yourself. That being said, let's get into the most unnerving YouTube videos.
I don't get it. We've been staring at this for 3 hours. That could use a cleaning.
Some people are trying to enjoy less cinema.
Oh, hey, Squidward. Hey, do you understand what this movie's about?
Nobody does. It's art. Now sit down.
People have been making art projects on video for decades. From film reels to files, people have continued to express themselves through media, and with this expression comes the desire to share it. People used to have to gather in rooms and project their art onto a screen, but now we can simply view their art on our own screens right here on YouTube. Although some art projects may come off as pretty odd, some are downright distressing. On the channel Fake Mistress, which I'll be going over more in my next distressing YouTube channel's video, we can see a video called White Noise 2. This video is odd, to say the least. I'll let you watch some of it. So, that was definitely interesting. I'll explain what's happening here as best I can. We seem to be in a room full of handmade children's toys. I'm not sure if this is actually a child's room or not, but we remain in this room for the majority of the video. Now, you may have noticed from the clip I showed you that there is some very interesting audio being played. We can hear a constant high-pitched feedback loop as well as a heavily distorted and unstable voice rambling in the background. To be completely honest, I don't have a single clue as to what that voice is saying. The only thing I am somewhat confident of is that they're not speaking English due to the end of the video. At the end, we see some text moving across the screen with what seems to be some type of museum setting in the background. It states that Fake Mistress presented this video at the Neurotitan Gallery in May of 2008. This gallery is located in Berlin, Germany, so it's likely the background audio is in German. If you're a German speaker, feel free to let people know in the comments what you can decipher if anything, as I'll be linking the videos I talk about below. I would go more in depth about the creator, but I'll leave that for the channel analysis I mentioned before.
Oh, if I'd known being a lifeguard meant guarding their lives, I would never have said yes.
In the early 1910s, lifeguards were first introduced across the US due to the recent boom of citizens swimming for fun, as over the past 20 years it had become a popular pastime. Nowadays, lifeguards are pretty commonplace. In fact, there's a chance that some of you watching may have volunteered as a lifeguard at some point. If you did, you might know about the video I'm going to talk about. The channel Lifeguard Rescue harbors a lot of instructional videos for lifeguards. Go figure. One instructional series of videos is called Wave Pool Lifeguard Rescue. More specifically, I'll be talking about the video Wave Pool Lifeguard Rescue 9 Spot the Drowning. As we watch the video, we notice a child on the bottom left fall off of his pool float and immediately sink. Luckily, he's saved shortly after and is relatively unharmed. Now, obviously, the person drowning is pretty unsettling in itself, but the main reason I decided to include it was because of how quickly it happened. In 1 second, he fell off of the float, and had that lifeguard not been there, he may have passed away. Drowning isn't like in movies or shows where someone is constantly making noise and coming back up over and over. A lot of times they silently sink or only manage to come back once before never being seen again.
I'm 10 pins away from perfection.
Bowling is a common pastime that some of us enjoy. For most people, it's a relatively casual pastime, so getting things like strikes are a big deal. Such a big deal, in fact, that people want to learn how to do it in order to impress their friends. So, they turn to YouTube for a solid video tutorial on how to get a strike every single time. Perhaps, some of them even stumbled upon this video.
Okay, let me show y'all how to roll a strike. With one hand is real easy to do. You just coast down nice and easy. Just let it flow. And then boom, that's called a strike right there in one hand.
A relatively harmless video of a man showing off how he gets a strike easily. The video is even titled How to Roll a Strike, so the guy is pretty confident in his skill. At this point, I already know that you're probably still confused as to why a guy harmlessly showing people how to roll a strike is on a video like this one. A few very seasoned people may know his voice, but many more of you may know him by how he looks.
Triple jointed TV, and I'm on line 3. That's how we do it. All 3, and we triple jointed. Y'all saw that strike. good boulder, one hand. That's how we do it, all day, every day.
That probably explains why this is here for most of you. But for the ones who don't know who this guy is, let me explain. This man, named Steve William Stevens, was born on December 10th, 1979 in Cleveland, Ohio. Not much is known about his early life, although one woman, Alexis Lee, did say as a teenager he would commonly have a python around his neck and would attempt to use it to pick up women. He is also said to have tortured pets, although it's not said when exactly he did this. He eventually would become a vocational specialist at a children's behavioral health agency. He was also a pretty desperate man, with one woman stating that he would always attempt to hit on her when she visited the casino, even though she rejected him. Of course, if he was that desperate, it was likely a big deal when he got into a serious relationship with Joy Lane at the age of 34. 3 years later, though, things would change for the worse. For unknown reasons, the relationship was ended and Steve didn't take it very well. He became angry. So angry, in fact, that he had to take it out on someone else. Cue his Facebook Live video, in which he rants and raves about what he's going to do and how Joy Lane hurt him. Eventually, as he's driving, he sees Robert Godwin, a 74-year-old grandfather who is walking to a family member's house for Easter. Steve hops out of the car recording the man, telling him to say his ex-girlfriend's name. After Robert does so, he states that she's the reason for what would happen to him next. With no hesitation, he raised his weapon and fired into the man, taking his life. Of course, he went on the run, claiming to have taken the lives of 15 other individuals. He made his way from Ohio to Pennsylvania, all while there was a nationwide manhunt and 5 states were completely locked down. Eventually, he would be found in Harbor Creek Township, Pennsylvania, after McDonald's made him wait by claiming his fries were still cooking. He waited for a bit, but ended up leaving out of fear. However, the police caught up with him and stopped his car. After taking 1 and possibly more innocent lives, Steve Stevens chose to not face his punishment or the people he hurt, and subsequently ended himself as to not be apprehended. Now I'm sure that watching this video of a man getting a simple strike has a whole new meaning to you after hearing that. Walking around in nature can be a peaceful experience. You can just walk around and get lost in the natural beauty of the world. Most people never really see anything interesting when they do this. Maybe they'll find an abandoned tent, some trash, or even the occasional animal, but not much past that. However, there are exceptions, of course. Remember, although the woods are peaceful because they're so secluded, they're also a great place to hide some of people's darkest secrets for the same reason. On July 19, 2020, the channel Fat Reacts would post a video called "Found Dead Body in a Cooler at a Lake." This video opens up with them already discovering the cooler, clearly uncomfortable but still morbidly curious as to what's inside despite the horrible smell. Around the 3:45 mark, they finally open it up, and what's inside, although not graphic, is very unnerving. We can see a lot of maggots feeding on some type of gray sludge, and most of the material inside is liquid except for the solid piece in the middle. They continue to exclaim how disgusting it smells and eventually discuss if they should call 911. Near the end, we get another view of the inside of the cooler, and that's about it. So, what was really inside of the cooler? Well, a pinned comment by a user simply named Matthew elaborates. Update on the situation. It was a dead infant that was neglected and abandoned in that cooler filled with water. Location will not be disclosed due to privacy reasons. Now, after doing some research, this is really up to you to believe. I looked around and couldn't find any concrete news articles or anything else corroborating this, and I'm not sure how they could have figured out that it was a baby on their own since they said they didn't know what it was during the video. Either way, it's still a really creepy clip with a possibly terrifying outcome.
Homer Simpson.
You are now an ordained minister.
Now to answer all the pop-ups. A talking moose wants my credit card number. That's only fair.
Have you ever gotten a weird message from a bot? Maybe they're trying to sign you up for a super real dating site or attempting to rope you into clicking a phishing link. They're usually pretty easily identifiable and have predictable patterns. But what about when one suddenly pings you on social media and sends you a video link with the message, "What is your impression of this video?" Well, this happened to Reddit user Canadian W. On the subreddit r/RBI, they explained that they were suddenly notified that someone had used their username in a comment, which was rare for them. After clicking on the notification, they were greeted with this post which says, "I was just permanently banned from r/AskReddit for spamming, karma farming, etc. Despite the fact that I did neither. AMA." In the comments, they say, "Yeah, this rendition of the song, I'm Yours, is one such recording which does for me. The original I'm Yours is a bad record. It's musically very boring. But this version is wonderful. The song is way better in this setting, when it's faster, and there are 4 girls singing it, 1 on guitar and 3 on hand percussion. And it's dark out, on the streets of Laguna Beach, for a pleased crowd. It's one of the best live recordings I know. User Canadian W. How does this recording make you feel?" They reply confused, and this leads to them sending a hyperlink with the previously mentioned quote. What's your impression of this video? After clicking on the link, we're greeted with this.
She died in India 2 years later. 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 She died in India 2 years later.
Ah, what avails the sceptred race? Ah, what the form divine? What every virtue, every grace? Rose Aylmer, all were thine. Rose Aylmer, whom these wakeful eyes may weep but never see. A night of memories and of sighs I consecrate to thee.
I have no idea what just happened. No, really, I have absolutely no clue this time. If you try to load their profile, nothing happens due to them being suspended, and if I try to find them on archive sites like Undit, nothing pops up. Honestly, I didn't think I'd get anywhere with this, and then I simply looked up their user in Google. Now we're getting somewhere. From what I can see, they were extremely active in both Teen IAMA, likely a sub they created, and Ask Teen Girls. It seems like the community is split on them, some saying they're a weird guy, but others saying they're not that bad. However, one comment stuck out to me, this one saying that they asked classical music questions. We can also see another post where they've requested a classical piece performance. But why is this relevant? Well, because user Canadian W is extremely into classical music. This means that this likely isn't a bot at all, despite how weird the language of this post is. It's more likely that this person has seen them around, and they post links often and just wanted to mess with them. But that's just one theory. A game theory. Okay, let's get serious. What other reasons could someone have to send such an obscure video? It's possible that this was an inside joke and that he tagged the wrong person. It's possible that this odd video has no significance, as you can see them send other videos to random people. That includes this video. Although these typically seem to be people they're already interacting with, it's completely possible that they just saw the user post on the classical music sub and decided to tag them to troll them. Overall, I'd like you guys to try to figure out if there's any meaning behind this video, as it'll be linked below. Luxury sports cars are appealing to many people. They look sleek and rare, just the type of thing that people like to look at. Of course, on YouTube this is no exception. You can find tons of car showcase videos of almost any model out there. Of course, when someone becomes successful, they may want to buy one of these cars themselves. In this video, a guy is showing off his brand new McLaren 650S. The video is pretty simple, not much to it. However, this video is extremely unnerving due to the story behind it. The YouTuber who made this video is McSkillet, a prominent member in the CSGO community. Some of you may remember him for getting banned from CSGO trading, or his fallout with popular commentary YouTuber Leafy is here, but others may remember him for a more infamous reason. McSkillet's mental state was not the best, to put it lightly. In fact, it was allegedly pretty terrible, as he drove through a fence in an elementary school and broke a window while no students were there, and drove 150 miles per hour or 241.2 kilometers per hour down a 25 mile per hour or 40.2 kilometer per hour road the wrong way. It was clear that he was extremely self-destructive, and his parents claimed that they were trying to get him admitted. However, despite all of that, McSkillet would still end up doing the unthinkable. On August 23, 2018, McSkillet, otherwise known as Trevor Heitman, would be flying down the I-805 highway in San Diego going 100 miles per hour or 160.9 kilometers an hour the wrong way. He would end up colliding head-on with a 2010 Hyundai SUV that contained 43-year-old Eileen Pizarro and 12-year-old Ariana Pizarro, taking the lives of both of them and himself. He would also injure 8 others. Rest in peace to everyone involved. Well, that's a wrap. I just wanted to say, if you've gotten this far, thanks for watching, and thank you guys so much for the support on my last video. It's really been amazing. As always, follow my stuff, like and sub, all that, and have a good day.